Rolling into hour two, Jonathan, this is such an amazing conversation and one that I've been, like I said, we talk about a lot, and I look forward to when we do get into these conversations because this is where I learn. Like, I love talking to people that have looked at things in a different way, or they can kind of help me put things together that I've been looking at. Because you name a conspiracy theory or a lot of these things that we're talking about, at some point I've looked into them or am looking into them at this current time. It's a lot going on.
Absolutely. And yeah,
So,
it is. It's fascinating. So,
yeah,
Carrie and Brandon, thank you so much for being here with us.
absolutely. This is great.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Cool. So, yeah, let's keep going. You guys were talking about that blue beam, and I mean, yeah, I think most people probably know what Project Bluebeam is. I don't know. I can't probably tell you as good as some people that have really studied it, but I just know it's basically I don't know if I'd say governmental. I'd say it's probably more private sector, but the government still somehow is involved with it. But it's basically the hologram. They're gonna present. They've actually presented a fake moon in Saudi Arabia with the technology.
That was wild.
They busted another moon out.
Yep.
Now it was the machinery was visible, right? They had it out and they were like, "Hey, look what we're doing." But if you were over there and didn't know they were doing that, you were just like, "Holy shit, there's a moon," right?
Yeah, and nobody questioned the machine part of it. That's what I found weird. Like, everybody was fascinated by what they saw in the sky, but I'm like, what? No, let's look at the machine. Like, that's disturbing.
Yeah,
Like,
well, right, exactly. That was kind of the story, but it wasn't. You know, it's weird. It's like they showed you, but they didn't talk about it. So
exactly.
how they'll do it. So
I wouldn't
yeah.
trust
Anyway,
a UFO
Bluebeam. So
if it
yeah,
was right above my house.
what do you guys think is going to go down with Project Bluebeam, and with like how do you think they're going to hit us first? Is it going to be aliens? Is it going to be Jesus? Because I mean, clearly. Dude, imagine what people would do if they saw Jesus coming out of the sky and we're like,
And
"Oh,
it spoke, and it spoke like there was voice. Oh my God.
So, I'm going to give you my 2 cents real quick on it.
Yeah.
I think that people talk about the third war or whatever. I don't see that. I mean, they say it's going to start here, it's going to start there. I think it's always been going on. Like, war to me has been around since the beginning of this whole operation. And I mean, whole operation being from chaos. Like, it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, your turn to take over. Okay, it's my turn to take over. I'm going to sell you to the Palladians this cycle. Next cycle, you're going to get them, and so forth. So I think what they're trying to do is a civil war, obviously making everybody poor, making everybody kind of frantic, starving them. And then you're going to see them announce a World War III, I would think. And then you're going to have to choose sides, choose states, whatever. And at that point, once all that gets kicked off and there's all that division, everybody that's asleep is going to want more of a savior. And so that's when I think you'll see the blue beam come in, and then you'll see the false messiah and so forth. And then at that point, the harvest is in full swing, because that's, like we said earlier, the Nicolas Cage movie where they come down the ships and take the kids. That's why I think there's kids missing from Lahaina and the whole trafficking part of it too. I think that's all a breeding program so that those people who haven't developed their consciousness can go to these other, we'll call it domes or realms or places. And that's why what we're doing as an awakened or an aware collective is so important, because it's going to stop with us. It's not going to stop with the good side or the bad side. It's removing the batteries from the machine, sort of thing. No power source. But that's why I feel, and this is just my 2 cents, like the whole earth is the heart. You have to go, like in any movie that we know of where you want to go beat the big bad guy, you go to the heart of the thing. You go to the center of it. And I think there was a post on, I want to say the channel is called Deleted Truth. Like, this is the place where you can awaken and become aware of who you truly are in the whole thing. And so I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense to me too. From I mean, there's theories out there with this being like a tesseract, like you see in the Marvel movies and things like that, and I can connect all that to all this too. I'm just a big Marvel goon, but I think being where we're at, be it 3D, 4D, which I think it's a combination of things, and that's why we're seeing some of the bleed over through the Mandela effects as well. It's not just one thing; it's a multitude of things, right? But the place to exit is here. Like, this is, imagine I came in and I was sorted like Harry Potter into the Cassiopeia star section. Well, then I rebelled, right? And I said, I want to go home. This is BS. Well, you got to go to Earth, but it's the hardest place. It's the hardest. They erase your memory, whatever the sales pitch was. And you come here, and then this is the place to leave, is how I view it. You have to be. Hopefully that background noise, you can't hear that.
No, a little bit, but not too bad.
This is
Was that a blender? Sounded like a garage door.
We're outside.
And no, it's no worse than my cat trying to beat down the door. That's for sure.
But anyway, I'll digress. That's just how I see it. Like, this is the place to leave.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we were kind of talking about that, Johnathan.
We have an echo.
Remember we were talking about Tartaria and stuff like that, and that like people just. And we were talking. We've done a few shows where people just. It seems like civilizations just disappeared, right? Like you had like the Aztecs and all of that, and they're like, there's no record. We don't know where they went or anything, and it leads me to believe what we're talking about. It's this transfer, right? Like we to another dome. I don't know what the word is. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, transfer.
It makes it
land,
like
maybe?
it makes sense. Yeah.
Look at them all, dude. And this is just a piece of the map, dude. There's I can't remember, but anyway, that guy I was talking about talked about that map, and he was like all these things, and he says a lot of that stuff out there is 5D.
Really?
Now, I don't know how that relates to what you guys want to say. I don't want to keep rambling on about what else he says, but does that equate to anything that you?
It's not where you want to go.
No, it's deeper. When I think D is in depth, I think it's deeper in the, lack of a better term, matrix. It's just further into it.
Wow.
Sure. 5D and all that, I get it. So then what you're specifically talking about would then maybe be outside of this big dome that's encapsulating. Yeah, okay, outside the dome, because they do mention that, but they don't really talk about it at all. I mean,
yeah, see, like that guy's book correlates to that Martin gentleman I was mentioning. And when I think about that, it's almost as if, how their whole thing is the Earth flat? Is it round? Is it? Well, I'm like, okay, well, it's both. It's all of the above. It's a crater. It's literally all of it. Because if I took a soccer ball and inverted it in on itself, well, then let's just say every black square or black hexagon is a dome. So and just blow that up into a big scale like that book you just displayed. Now, it's on a flat surface.
Yeah.
But put that down into like a concave bowl, and that's what I think we're dealing with.
Sure.
But there's two sides to that. Back to the yin yang. Like there's an upside and a downside, and we are in the inverted upside down side of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everything's so negative and everything's terrible here. And they're hoping that we all go to the new age, the 5D, the golden cage. It's like letting chickens out into a bigger playpen. You're still in a cage.
You were talking about that. That's what it was. That's kind of where I wanted you to go. Yeah, good. Thank you for going there.
So
that's fascinating. Sorry.
So back to the idea of the tree of life. I mean, I can go to the positive polarity or I can go to the negative polarity. Well, I don't want to be back to the infinity. If you just make it look like an 8, well, at the center point, that's the out point, which is like the neutral. So I correlated that way.
I was just gonna say that. I'm so glad that you brought up the center point, because I was gonna say that. I was like, okay, the way he's describing it, I would want to be at the center point.
Yeah.
Like that's where our goal is, and so many people are way to the bottom, like the root area, or so many people are at the other end, but not many people. The goal, I would assume, is to balance into the middle and get into that perfect balance. Correct?
Be detached. Yeah, detached from either end. The passage in Revelation where Jesus is saying, I wish that you were hot or cold, meaning wish you were red or blue.
Right.
You need to polarize yourselves, folks. I'll take you if you're hot or you're cold. But when you're lukewarm, so you're detached from either hot or cold, I don't want nothing to do with you. So then he spews you out of your mouth. So my question of late has been, well, why are we in the mouth of this dude anyway? That's like Kronos, chowing down his children.
Yeah, I love that. I love that mythology. I was just watching last week a whole thing on Kronos and all the different gods and stuff like that. And as crazy as it always sounds when I say it, these things resonate with me. I've told Johnathan that a lot of times, Johnathan. I talk about it, that these stories resonate with me, and these legends and whatever you want to call them. And so I was watching stuff on Kronos, and I always think they're somewhere weaved in there. They're telling a story that's true. and then Anunnaki and all of these things. I've looked into all of this stuff, but for some reason I'm really attracted to the Anunnaki and the god, and then the gods, like all the different, like the Norse gods, blah blah blah. All those ones are really fascinating to me. So it's weird that you brought up Kronos, because that was a really fascinating story, that legend.
Well, if you look at that too, in all of the ancient mythologies, is always some paternal figure who devours its own children.
Right. Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and so I think that's just a picture of what this system is and
Yeah.
how this entire setup works and how it energizes itself. Even the second law of thermodynamics, you know, we get told by I call it the love and light movement. I don't mean any ugly about, I don't know anything else to call it. But it says that we should embrace our darkness and embrace the darkness and transmute it into light. And that all energy is never lost. It's just changes form. Mm-hmm. The second law of thermodynamics indicates that every time a form of energy changes into a different form, there is a certain percentage of that energy that is just flat lost, mm-hmm. not recoverable, not recoupable. So my analogy for that is I like to work with wood. And so if I have a 10-foot 2x4 and I draw a line at every 24 inches, by the time I cut my last board, if I don't account for the 1/8 inch that saw blade eats up every time, my last board will be at least an inch shorter than the one I started out with. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happens when people just give a partial perspective on something because they have their agenda is to eat up, you know, or to transmute your own darkness. Well, mm-hmm. I don't believe that at all. I think we need to stop feeding it so that it will shrivel and depart, and we have nothing in common with it. Having something in common with something gives it the right of access to you, to your spirit.
Yeah.
To you. And so when we stop having things in common with it, it just goes away.
Right. It makes sense too, because you were saying like a lot of these mythology and that it's like, you know, a deity eating, you know, their children and stuff like that. And as soon as you said that, I thought of a picture I saw somewhere of Satan, and you see him devouring souls and stuff like that. So my mind went right to that image of
mine too.
Symbology. Yeah.
That like watercolor painting where he's kind of crazy looking and he's got like a dude in his hand and he's like biting the other one in half. Yeah.
That's where my mind went to. It's like they're
immediately too.
Story, yeah, there's meaning in the symbology, and I love symbology because it tells a story if you have the eyes to see it.
It does, and the thing is that people had to become so clever, for one, that they had to be able to hide truth within certain codes, like the nursery rhymes we all learned as children. Humpty Dumpty, Mary, Mary, quite contrary. All of these had a different message to it, and most of it was pretty dark. But it's the same thing in their books, such as the Bible, the Quran, all of these variety of different readings from around the world. They have their own work encoded within that, and that's how in the Bible it says this angel says to the Daniel account to seal up the words of the book until the time of the end, when many people are going to and fro. And what that means is not that he put a wax ring on there or something and sealed it up, but that it was encoded in there. I'm of the opinion they probably had some type of a computer system that did the not numerology, but the gematria, and the word counting and the whole thing. And now that we've got computers again, they've been able to decipher some of these inner messages. And then they got all the King James version. Always remember that word version, because that means it's not the real thing. It is a facsimile. And so from that version, then they alter and change things in order to push a particular agenda. And they're speaking to themselves because they know what time it is. They have put us into the veil of oblivion and caused us to forget. And so we don't know, but they do. I guarantee you they do. They know exactly what time it is.
Oh, absolutely.
And yes, they're speaking to themselves in those books, and it's a big, it's a club, and then they know how they can word it and present it so they can laugh at us and corral us with it.
And I think
And real quick, also whatever the Mandela effect is, I kind of liked Brian's idea. He's like, it's just God doing it. Like the true source is just like showing you that this isn't real. Stop putting all your attention on all this shit, because none of this isn't. It's not as real as you like to think it is what I think. That's where he was thinking the message is, and that's kind of what I like it. But the point is, the Bible's changed in like 12 places. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
straight up words are different, and like, as we know, words mean shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, and okay, well, debtors and trespasses, that's not such a big deal. Yeah, but it's a big deal because you remembered reading and learning the word trespasses, and now it says debtors in every single copy ever put on the planet.
Yep.
And that's a big deal, because now we're not talking about Britney Spears was missing her mic on her video. Okay, well, that's weird. No, this is your Word of God book changed.
Yeah.
From your memory, Pastor Stevens. You've taught from the verse all the time that it was the lion lays with the lamb, and now it says wolf. Oh,
Yeah.
What is that? Oh, anyway.
I even asked my friend
I just love that.
Well, I asked my friend who's really like he's really religious, knows the Bible, and I said, "Can you recite that passage back to me?" And he didn't say wolf. Like I'm like, "Well, that's apparently what it is." And he's like, "No, it's lion." Like, and I was like, and he would know. You know, it's one of these things.
Greg?
It's just like really fascinating. And I think it's kind of what Carrie was saying in the first hour, is that with these Mandela effects, you know, if they just hit you with all of them at once, I think too many people would be shook awake. But it seems to me that they're ramping it up. So they did a couple little things, and then people were caught on, but, you know, they argued about it. But now you're starting to see big changes that people, like, at least I'm noticing and you're noticing, and we've talked about it. And so it seems like this agenda is ramping up.
Well, imagine if you woke up one day and you went and you felt better and things were different, and you just kind of looked around. Now, this is a hypothetical, and then you went and you're going to a place where it used to be a bank, and now it's just something else. And that's weird to you, but it's not weird to you.
Mm.
And you go, I feel like this used to be something else. And then, but you'll be like, no, it's been this, it's this. I know what this is. And it'll be, I don't know, dude, make it up. Something completely else. Banks don't even exist anymore is where I'm going with this. So then you go about your business, and then you realize, and then eventually you'll have a conversation with someone, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, that building over there. Isn't that weird? Didn't that used to be something? And then someone else will come by and be like, yeah, dude, it used to be a bank. And you'll be like, oh, shit, we've shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of where I see this, and the Mandela effects are just like getting you used to the idea that, dude, you're just going to wake up one day and it'll be different, and that'll be okay.
It will, and they do it so gradually, just like the frog in the water thing, you know, and the cool water, and you gradually heat it up. Well, he'll be cooked up pretty good by the time.
Exactly.
But I think I was going to touch on Project Bluebeam again. I think that these projections that they're being vocal about, if, like you said, showing the machines and stuff, is we live in a debtor prison, which kind of goes back to what y'all were saying about creating the debt rather than the trespasses. And that insinuates that there has to be some form of a payment made. And so if with the projections from Project Bluebeam, they are basically saving their own karma, so that they don't get blamed for imposing these things on humanity when they're having it so that they ask them. So that's why they show the method, they show everything they're doing, even if they make a joke out of it. But these projections, I think, is to assess for their algorithms human response. And at what point will they panic? In the 30s, there was the War of the Worlds radio broadcast that sent people into a huge panic, and they never did that again. And so ever since then, it's been the baby powder effect on handling people with kid gloves, of not giving them huge doses of anything, but to do the gradual introduction of these changes.
Yeah, I think COVID was a huge test. I truly believe that this was one that they swung for the fences and wanted to see humanity's response. And I just think that with COVID, I've always thought that this was their big lunge.
Well, they had to determine who was red or blue.
Yeah, and that's
Exactly.
good point.
Because they were like, well, there are a lot of people running their mouths. Who's going to show up?
Yeah, who's going to show up and really stand toe to toe? Yeah.
That's absolutely correct. And so, people think that they're going to go out in the wilderness and hide and all this and that. Man, they got your number. They know where you are, who you are, what you've been doing, what you had for supper last night, and they can find you anywhere. They've got ground penetrating radar, sonar. They've got the heat seeking, everything you can think of, and imaginary bugs that can sting you with darts and poison. So,
yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, dude. Rick, the woman that came on when you missed that week, she was talking about a drone project called Operation Dragonfly. I mean, come on. Yeah. Why would they call it Operation Dragonfly? Because they have dragonflies, folks, that are drones. So, and you're talking about, I mean, of course they have bees that have, I mean, man, dude.
Well, that's why I laugh. My one friend, he's so paranoid. Like, I want him to come on the radio. I've been asking him for 2 years, and he won't because he's paranoid that they're going to track him and all of that. And I'm like, dude, you're walking around with a cell phone. Like, I don't get what you're talking about. Like, and he's like, oh no, they'll know who I am by my voice and all of that. And I'm like, they already know who you are. What are you talking about? Like, they know everything about you. Like, it just drives me crazy when people are like, I can't be on camera. They're going to find out who I am. I'm like, no, they already do.
Yeah, they know.
Stop it.
I think the only thing now is with the voice and stuff is their ability to replicate.
That's disturbing.
Voices and change it into saying something that you never ever said. Yep. And I think they'll use that as a tool to
incarcerate and kill.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, I agree.
What about that video that you sent us with that chick talking about just going crazy? The crazy-haired girl that was just
about what's her name? Sabrina Wallace.
Oh yeah.
Sabrina.
What's her name? Sabrina.
Sabrina Wallace.
All right.
Okay. That girl is something else, man. Oh my goodness.
Johnathan
I like
sent
her,
me that
dude.
video.
She's super cool. Yeah, she's super cool. It blew my mind. Like, so, wow, man, that's next level stuff. Full on zombie mode. I feel like they've been feeding us stuff. Dude, since I just don't eat food. I mean, I eat watermelon, I eat dark chocolate covered cashews, and I have protein shakes. And I seeked out the very best, cleanest, nicest to their animals, non-farm, factory farming type of stuff, and that's all I eat. And I stay in pretty good shape. I've actually gained a lot of muscle mass. I'm doing that on purpose, but I don't eat food anymore, and I don't feel weighted down, dragged down. My massage therapist teacher that I was telling you about, she gave me a massage a couple days ago and was like, man, you have no inflammation in your gut or anywhere on anything in your whole belly area, right? She was mushing me around. She's like, you have no inflammation anywhere. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why, because she knows I always push how I eat, especially to her, because she's a higher level thinking person. I'm like, you got to just stop putting food in your mouth, man. I'm serious. You'll feel better. So anyway,
yep.
I think they've fed this wired RFIDs, which they said they were doing. So damn, whatever they could possibly imagine what an RFID chip has converted into now in 2024. Not something that would be injected. We know what that is, but like what you could just eat in, say, I don't know, Nesquik and mix up some dark chocolate milk and drink it, or in your Cocoa Puffs or whatever, dude. They can put this shit in our food, and they have been. And then again, so I brought up that woman, that Sabrina Williams. Was it Williams?
Wallace.
Sorry. Yeah. Because she was talking about them, like a whole world of stuff I didn't really know anything about, and I'm sure it ties to that. Us having this whole network in us, even the ones of us that are clean and don't think we do, probably do, and they can
because they're affecting, like the air, the water, and the one video that shocked me, Johnathan, that it was a quick video that you just posted, I think yesterday, was when the lady had the baby food out and she was running the magnet over it, and she's pulling these metal shavings out, and I'm like, what is that? What? Like, it's like they're implanting us with this tech. It's just wild, man. Like, what's going on? Like,
I think that's the third temple.
That's the what?
Third temple, the new body, the new man, the new version, trapping you in your mind where you can't, like in the Bible it says, like, you want to die but you can't.
Right.
They just transfer you over to another vessel.
You'll be a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I find disturbing, Carrie, is that, I mean, I've said this so many times too, and I get in these discussions, like, if they give people the option that you could take your life and put it into like a simulation or like a virtual reality or something like that, where you're basically, you can have any reality that you want. It's disturbing because I think most people would do it. I just think that that's how far gone it's got, that people would be willing to plug in if they had the choice. It saddens me to say that, but I do believe that. I think a lot of people would give up their whole humanity and spirituality to plug in, which they're slowly doing in a lot of ways.
Because they don't believe in spirituality, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or they'll say they don't, or they've been just, mind
I think people would plug in. Yeah. I just think people would be more than willing to plug in a lot of the cases. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, so then, Carrie, I want to ask you then, if you think a soul is part of a construction of this realm, and I haven't heard that before, but so I'm still kind of just trying to jostle it around into my concept of things then. And then so you sell your soul, yeah? And now you've lost your soul, and I would think that would kind of be something that we could equate to the conversation we're having about this person who's now put their consciousness or whatever into a machine. Would you consider that having sold your soul? And then two, what is that then? Right. And can you get it back? Can you ever get out?
Soul of the devil.
Is there any asking for help from God at that point? Does that work? Those are kind of my questions about that.
I think those are awesome questions. I think there comes a point where we've chosen this over and over so many times that it just gets to the end where there's really nothing left of our soul for them to devour. It's like our soul is what we make payment. We have to pay to play, basically, to enter into this realm. Because I do think there are some that enter into here to come and play a game, basically. There are others who are here unwittingly, who are the victims or the NPCs, if you will, who came from that originally, but decided they were not playing. And that's the ones that even the Bible talks about, are you not gods, but you'll die like men? But because we didn't want to play their stupid game, then we get relegated down to this level where we life and death, and we hit that cycle. The ones that are, I call the wolves, are the, which is probably why they changed that other verse from lion wolf, because the wolves are coming. And they are the devourers that we see in our media, we see in our music, we see in movies, all of this. And they devour our energies. And there's been many reports, I think we talk about a lot, about like Mel Gibson talking about that guy that said that he was telling he was a real vampire and he really did fly and creeped him out.
Well, it's like Beyonce when she goes on stage, right? She's just like, something inhabits me.
Yes.
It's not me. Or like Madonna. I think what happens there is when you sell your soul, it's not just one thing that you're doing. You're doing a lot of things. So like they're cloning you, I think. I'm almost certain of that. You can find
what now?
They're cloning you.
Cloning, yes.
So like you, for example, I don't know if this is even true, but I'm just gonna give you an example. Like Ryan Reynolds might have like 6 of. Oh, Will Smith. That's a better one. The Will Smith commercial where he's got like 8 of them at his mansion. He's like, well, that's me, and that's me. I'm like, well, it's because you've sold your soul. Like you've sold your essence away. You've given up the rights to control your consciousness.
The frequent flyers.
Frequent flyers.
Yeah. Wow. You guys got me thinking of so many things now. Tonight's going to be a night of thinking. For sure. Like I'm just trying to wrap my head around. Maybe Carrie, you can help me with this, because I'm trying, like you said, you pay to play, and like your soul is like your currency, your payment. And the kind of, I was just watching, and the reason I'm going with like, just kind of follow me on this, but I was watching an episode of Supernatural, and they talk about, I think it's glory, I can't remember, that's kind of like what your payment is, like that's what fuels everything is. I think they call it glory. I could be wrong. Somebody that watches Supernatural will probably be losing their mind, but I think it's glory. And that's kind of like your payment. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, if we're paying to play, like, what is the end goal? Like, because you hear so many things, like, are we here to learn, and we chose to come here and learn a lesson, or like, you know what I mean? Like, what if we're paying to play, what is the end game, do you think?
I think that it's almost, I guess what I say all the time is it's everything everywhere all at once. For some, that is the situation. They pay to play the game. It's a game to them. They come down here and engage in absolutely anything and everything they want. They take turns on who's being the villain and who's going to be the victim. And so they can do whatever to each other, and then they go up and high five, in the higher realms, and they give another quarter of their soul, and so they get to come back again. And so these are the ones that are going to be seeking an extended living experience.
Okay.
And so that's why the push, especially among the elites, to link up with and become these machines. And
that
so
makes sense.
That's one group. And then another group unwittingly doesn't know. And so they get wrapped up in the religion of, we're going to judge you. And so, you're going to have a life review when you get up there and on the other side, and we'll guide you. And, you might see a beautiful field and go traipsing through there and picking lilies. And then we're going to take you and have a life review. And then we're going to tell you something to the effect of, don't you want to try again to do better? You made a lot of mistakes. You were just a really big screw up. In fact, you really should go, and we'll give you one more chance, and that happens over and over and over again, but you just remember.
Yeah, or even I heard that same exact concept, but instead of just, well, we think you should, it's like your options are that burning lake of fire that is real,
or another payment
you were afraid of, and or you can try again. And that's how it really works. And
that makes so much sense.
Thank you so much for my extra try. Oh, thank you so much for my extra try.
It just makes so much sense what Carrie's saying. Like, I just had like an aha moment. It makes sense. And that would explain the whole transhumanism and why the elite, are trying to extend everything, because they're basically running out of money, which is their soul. That's the way I'm taking it. And it makes this,
the currency, and this is brought out in the movie Jupiter Ascending, the only currency, the only thing worth living for is more time.
Right.
Because this is a finite system. I don't care what level. You can go to 5 million inside this spiraling, looping, self-folding over itself system. It doesn't matter. You can walk all day in a circle and think that you're eternal, but you're not. You're going in a little circle. You're still in a containment. Yep. And so they create these illusions that to those from the other side, we think after we've been, mind wiped, I remember a place that's eternal. This must be it, and so they have those facsimiles that are reminiscent or of the same patterns of our true homeland. And so, and what I am going to say is that I do not believe that everyone is from there. There are some that were made intentionally in this realm and from this realm that are in livestock. I've always been on the farm. Is livestock, we have feeders and we have breeders. And so the feeders are the ones that we lot up, and they don't get out and exercise a lot, but they those are the ones that go to the sale barn to wind up as a steak. The breeders, however, get a little more freedom, and they can go and carouse around and make babies, and then when they get old and are no longer useful, then they take a trip. Ship.
I'm just giggling, Carrie, because I was at my brother's homestead, and that's what he told me. He's like they're feeders and breeders, and he's like the breeders, they get like the run of the place. They get to wander, roam around, and all of that. So I'm just giggling when you said that because it's with the same language.
And isn't that funny? It's an exact replica of how it works on a bigger level. So if we can look at that situation from an outside of the box perspective, it's like, oh, someone with thumbs gets to rule over everyone and determine who the king and who the peasant is. Yeah. I mean, come on now, and then just imagine that on a grander scale, like like outside of a spectrum of things that we can't see. Come on now, we are the absolute. We're pinkies, man. We are the pinkies. We're pinkies.
And I think it has to do with the systems that of course, I do believe in the Anunnaki and that whole scenario there, and that whole lineage comes down directly from chaos. It can be traced backward. And so to say it's non-existent or it's just, isn't, I deal with people all the time that there is no space, and that's not real. How do you know? Have you been outside of here? When's the last time you got in your little mystery ship and took a trip?
Yeah.
And
It's
going
true.
to the astral is not proof of anything. Do I think that some of the pictures we get shown on TV are real? Nope, I don't. They've got too many Disney artists
Yeah.
right for that, but there's something else there.
Oh
And
yeah.
I agree.
But it's something. I don't have to know what. I just need to know that it is, and
That's what I say. There's something there. I can't word it, but I know it's there.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're bringing up chaos, because that's something I've never even really thought about or talked a lot about. But one of the movies I like, it just, when you brought up chaos, I was thinking of the gods of Egypt, and that's who he was fighting against. Was his daily battle was with chaos. He had to keep chaos back. So as soon as you brought up chaos, that's right where I went to. I was like, God, in that movie, which I love, gods of Egypt. I was like, wow, that's who he's fighting. That's the story, is fighting back chaos.
Consuming.
Consuming.
Consume that fire. It's all about consumption.
Yep.
And everything, even from the Bible, the whole Anunnaki playbook, the whole, whatever you want to call it, it's their history, and it's written in the stones that were there way, way before the first pages of the Bible were written. It's fascinating study, but when you look at the genealogy of it and you take it backward and you find out that Amun-Ra apparently was Enki's son.
Right.
And Thoth was also Enki's son, that he taught all the wisdom of the earth, because the word Enki means Lord of the earth. So that's the God of this earth. It's not even who we think that it is. And now that's what's was in the Bible, but they took those names out and replaced it with, you get God, you get Lord God, you get Yahweh, you get several different ones, and they all represent different entities.
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yep. Wow.
Yep.
This is the kind of conversations I like.
You've got the new people coming around, mashing the New Testament with the Old Testament for the purposes of the really uninitiated to be like, well, God means God. So
China means AI.
Yeah, you're to believe that the stuff from the Old Testament God is the same thing.
Right.
And it's like, no, and I actually sat my sponsor for AA. So I had to just bite my tongue off. And I didn't know that much to really be able to like specifically refute him, other than I knew what he was saying was so full of shit. It was just like, wow. But again, I just had to keep my mouth shut, period, anyway. But he was like, and this is what bothers me, because I know a lot of people this is what they go. He was talking about the Bible and how, man, in the Old Testament, he was just all vengeful and spiteful and jealous, and man, he was killing people, and holy shit, demanding sacrifices. And then in the New Testament, we know clearly he's changed his whole mind. He's changed his attitude. And I'm just like, oh my God, dude. There are people that are just like going out and about doing shit. It's like, no, that's so crazy to even think like that. It's like, man, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but come on, guys. God, if we're going to even use that word, it's like the ultimate, the source. It doesn't change. Right. It's something that doesn't change. It's not a dude with a beard. We know that. But I mean, my God, it's not going to go from, well, I'm going to need you guys to go get pigs if you ain't going to use people, because I need blood on Saturday. Like, yeah, that's God. And then I'm going to give you guys my dude, my son, and he's going to come and perfect it out. And then I'm going to take him. And because of that blood, now we're square. I mean, oh my God, wow.
Yep.
That's their system and their rules, and that's what we have to kind of try to see. But if we understand, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper than that, because that is correct and it's wrong. And so where that saying would be correct in my perspective is that because these entities demand payment in blood, that is their life-giving essence, source, whatever it is that they chow down on. They demand that sacrifice. They demand it. It's not the father of the Jesus type situation, which I have a whole different perspective on that too. But so if a one of us who came in from the outside came in through this body, lived this life like us, and he had a complete and thorough awakening and a reunification with all of his split selves. So every time that his soul had been struck and scattered, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter, And so he recollected his own self, and he reconnected with his own higher self, his own Eve, true Eve. There's two Eves. The what's it called? The higher self. I don't know.
Yeah.
What it is. And so he was fully awakened. Spends 40 days out in the desert. Gets tempted. The Bible says by God. Well, I'm going to explain something about this God. By the devil is what they said was the devil. Well, it was on top of the Hebrew temple. In the symbology there is you do not stand on top of a building that does not belong to you. That was his temple. And so that's what the Yeshua, because there's two Jesus at least, and maybe three voices of Jesus in that Bible. And so the real one was trying to point out that this is what you're really worshiping. And people don't have any idea. Even when he says the Jews know what they worship, but you don't have any idea. We were told in Christianity, oh, well, that means that they're just ignorant and they don't know God. No, that ain't it. Y'all know you worshiping this Satan, Enki, whatever you want to call it, Enlil, destroyer. Y'all know very well what you're doing, and you hide it from everyone else. And then you get them to do it because you give them part of the information enough to kind of lure them in, like a anglerfish dangles his little worm in front of the suspecting little fish and then gobbles it all up. So, and I wanted to talk on you were talking about the Jesus or the God of the Old Testament, very judgmental, got to have the blood, got to have all this, bloodthirsty, give me sacrifice of 20 virgins, 1,000,000 cows, and sacrifice all these bulls, blood. It must have been horrible when they initiated the Solomon's temple.
Yeah.
And so he would have, but the God, the Father, the God that the real Yeshua talked about was very different from that. But the rewriters of the Bible, of their own version, had to add the Old Testament God back in there, and that was done through Paul. And Paul, on many accounts, is juxtapositionally opposed to the teachings of the real Yeshua, and the words of Caiaphas were prophetic in that they said that we will use this, and he meant the crucifixion of Yeshua, to bring all of the diaspora, which is the quote unquote 10 missing tribes, back into the fold. And so how they did that was to create Christianity. That's who created Christianity. And they gave it the name of the ancient Christos ideology from many different cultures. And then Paul was their big mouthpiece, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, then you get the church, and you get Peter, which is Potter, which is Father. It all just goes on and on and on.
Sure. Yeah, Dan, my friend I was telling you about earlier, that, by the way, a really easy way to find him, when you go to my Telegram channel, because I know you go there, just go look in one of the groups. It's called Language and Etymology. And there's only like 3 posts in it, and they're all his. It's the video I did with him that I was going to send you, so it's already there, and you can check it out. But I was just going to say that he was connecting into that somehow, and I don't know, I kind of spaced that out, but yes, absolutely. I like what you were just speaking on. So.
It's fascinating stuff. It's like there's two things. It's like there's two things going on. Like when I'm hearing this is that, when we get back into all the old legends and stuff like we were talking about with Kronos and that, they're trying to get the correct message out, and then you have another, the opposite force manipulating everything. So you have to dig. Like I try to tell people that you have to look deeper than just the surface, because there is so much wisdom and teachings in all of this stuff, from our past. If you're open to learning it, and then, but everybody's so just quick to look at the surface, and then they think that's enough. And it's always deeper where you have to go to get to the good stuff and figure it out.
Oh, absolutely. And taking a second look at everything, re-examining it through the eyes we have today, right now, for me, gives me a totally different perspective on what I would have read 20 or 30 years ago, and thinking that I had all the answers, and because I didn't, and I still don't. And so I think that they throw this extra stuff in there, and I like how you put it, that there's like 2 or 3 versions in there, and so it brought up the word for me, diversion, die meaning 2, and 2 versions of everything. And so one of them may be true, while the other one's totally false, but one of them may be partially true, and it just true enough to resonate with what is true within us, and then they tag on to it the poison, just like Mary Poppins, with her spoonful of sugar helps the poison go down.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the same thing. So a diversion then gives you a split version, like a fork in the road or a forked tongue. And so it's all meant to draw our attention elsewhere. It's the hidden hand agenda, basically.
Yep. Exactly. Yep,
It is.
absolutely. Yeah, the hidden hand.
And that diversion thing is so deep, and that's what it's so that's why I like the Mandela effect and flat Earth, if you will. Just the whole idea of looking at the giantness of everything as so vastly different than what we've been told, because then it stirs up your imagination. It's like, oh, what is out there? Oh, I don't know, but something's out there. And not what they've shown us. And that's what, to me, it just makes it fun. And I mean, we were talking about this, and I was kind of wanted to say it, but it just didn't come out at the time. But it's fun to me. You know what I mean? Like to go, wow, we don't know. And so many people need to know. They need to have answers. And that way, when they look out, oh, it's all comfortable. I know what's going on up there. Because can you imagine if literally everything you knew about what is up and out there is not right? Yeah, I mean, it just people would have a hard time with that. And it was like the War of the Worlds thing, and that's such a simple thing, right? It's just literally the flat Earth concept or argument or topic or whatever you want to say, and that's why it angers some people so much, I guess, because they already know how it is. And if it's not like that, and it actually is flat in any way, well then, dude, that means shit is so vastly. That means my reality would shatter so much that I can't handle it. That's basically what they're saying when they can't even have a normal conversation with you about it. And it's just like, well, okay, well, and then the 15 off the top of your head things that you can show them about how the ball doesn't work. And it's like, but then really? And then, anger and frustration. It's like, wow, dude. And I just use that one as kind of a baseline of jumping off point for imagination to be like, ooh, so we don't know. That's right. We don't know. Yep. That's all. Wherever I want to end up with it, it's like, yeah, and it's not that I do know, it's that I think we don't know, and that makes it more fun.
Yeah.
It makes it way fun. I like not knowing, and sometimes I like being wrong.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
some of the things I see and know that have come true, that just irk me to no end. But I think in the true eternity, that's our adventure. If we're the joyous manifestations of the ineffable oneness made perceivable, our whole thing of being is, I think, the exploration of what is. And there's no end to that. And to me, that's incredible. It's
I agree.
Exciting.
So do you think we're getting out of this soon? Do you think that there's going to be some... Do you think there's like a shit like what they were talking about in that first video, not the Sabrina Wallace one, but the first one, where it was the 2 spirals that
the crystal spiral
intersected?
Yeah.
What was it in 2017? And then now we're
the one I sent you about the 2 spirals that converge at a certain point and
splitting apart.
Spiral.
Yep.
So back to the picture 2 tornadoes, one inverted on the other. And that's your 2 timelines. That's your splitting. That's your new Earth. That's your old Earth. You pick your spiral in that I can stay here. I think everything's fine. The NPC idea or the Lords and Saviors mindset. I'm just going to stay here. I'm comfortable. Or I'm going to seek a little bit higher intelligence or awareness, and I'm going to go up the Christ spiral. But at the same time, both of those spirals are within the same thing, the same matrix. So
okay.
I do, Carrie had to step away for a second, so I'm gonna chime in. We're trying to cook, do this too, but the way I see it is, I felt this for, and we can get into this at a different point, guys. Is the when I awoke, I was like, okay, I'm running out of time. Like I need to figure my shit out. Like I'm on the fast track, and there's some of us that are on a fast track, where Carrie might be 62, I'm 38, and I've been on this, and I'm absorbing it in a much more rapid rate. So she and I agree that I'm on a fast track where she's been dealing with this for like 30, 40 years.
Right.
And I think that's part of the distortion that you get from the Dolores canon, where I was going to mention this earlier. I think it was Johnathan that had mentioned, some people come in and they are like frequent flyers, like I'm going to be a girl, I'm going to be a boy, I'm going to be this person for you, I'm going to help you do that. There's partial truth to that, but that's the people who like to play the game. But like the volunteers, again, like the Dolores canon has stated, there's waves. I think that that's part of the fast track or the slow track. Some of them, the way I conceptualize it is Sophia asked for help. Like she created something and she was like, what did I just do? Like I went against the rules, and she made a cry for help. And people like us who are benevolent, love, empathy, compassion, all about the heart, we said, of course, I'm going to help you. Like you tripped, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to help you. Well, that was a mistake. That's what got us here. So that's partially true in some of that work by Dolores and some of those channelings through quantum healing technology and all that stuff, or hypnosis. But I do, to answer your original question, I do think this is ending soon. I don't really see it going past this year. And then you look at the Deagle report and you got, I think it's 90% of the U.S. population's gone by 2025 or something like that. And maybe 75%. I don't really care about the numbers, but it's a lot. And so I think that that's part of it too, as well as the whole zombie idea, which you read about in the Bible. You can look at the government websites and see that there is a con plan 88888, I think it said for them. So there's plans for all that stuff.
Yep.
And I think part of our awakening, I don't even like that word, our awareness journey is that we don't have to participate. And by us not participating in the little needles or the integration of 5G or nano headsets and all that stuff, that's us saying no. Like that's us putting our foot down, stepping into our power and saying, I don't have to play this game. I can get out. And that's what they don't want. It's like the little kid in the corner who created something. He's like, hey, play with me. Sorry, I'm not going to play with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
You need to figure out yourself. Like you need to work on yourself rather than relying on me to work on you.
Right.
Back to seeking something outside yourself. I know that's a lot of stuff in that answer, but I hope that helps. I do.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Yeah.
I do see an exit point soon. I've felt it. I mean, all of us who are aware at this level, I would say on the higher side, not the positive or the negative, but the higher side of things, feels it's coming. It's almost like
I've been saying that for a while. I feel something, and they're like, "What are you feeling?" I'm like, "I can't put words to it. It's just a feeling." Yeah.
It's ineffable. It's indescribable.
Yeah.
Because, and this is something I'm begging Carrie to like talk with more people about. It's the split between the Adam and the false Eve, and the true Eve being the higher self.
Yeah.
And that's a big concept that, I mean, I can't think of a deeper one, quite honestly, because we're all seeking that higher self, that God mode, that we all want to be loved. Well, love yourself, which is your spirit, which is your higher self. And some of us, like I would say Rick and Johnathan and I, are all on the fast track to a degree. We're being guided by our spirit. We're being protected. And that gets me back to my story of awakening. It's like, well, why did all this stuff happen to me? I was doing good. I was doing right. I was trying to help people. And it's like they all just shunned me. Okay, well, that tells me, one, the truth does hurt. People don't really want help, even though they have the savior mindset. And when they hear the truth, it scares them because they don't want to step into their power. So, I mean, I went from, like I said, a very normal American suburban lifestyle to I don't have a place to go. And somehow I scrambled around enough and had enough money or foresight or protection from my higher spirit to get me here, to now be on your show, to start a restaurant, to help other people do things. Like I'm volunteering at a zoo So it's very interesting
Yeah.
how that works. It's a lot of stuff, but
That's very cool, dude. We're gonna definitely have to have you guys back
I was
because
just gonna say we got to do a part 2, Jonathan.
yeah, we've got about what 30 seconds left or maybe
Absolutely.
45, something like that. And then
Wow,
we didn't
that's
even
great.
get into your story. You kind of started to bring it up, and I was like, oh shit, this would have been perfect if we had another 15 minutes to do that, but we don't. We've got
But we
about
can
45
schedule a
seconds
part
left.
2. That's what
Yeah.
we can do.
we'll make it happen.
Yep, absolutely cool. Well, thank you guys both so much. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you for coming on to this show, and we absolutely loved what you guys talked about. So
For sure.
Yeah, we have to do this again for sure.
I
So.
would love to have you back on because I think we just scratch the surface like we always seem to do, Jonathan. By the second hour, it's like
Well,
God,
it's not
we
like
need
we're
another hour.
talking about. It's not like we're talking about kindergarten level shit. You know what I mean? We're
Yep.
talking about next level, like quantum thought process type.
Exactly.
Stuff. So, yeah.
That's
Thank you guys
awesome.
both so much.
An honor, and I appreciate both of you. Nice to meet you, Rick.
You too. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you in the future. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in once again. Don't forget, Jonathan is back this Saturday. He's in Studio B. Same time, though, same place. And make sure you check it out. He's always got a great show. So.